Welcome to Live Life Driven. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know how many people listen to this show and actually pay attention to that intro song. But, if you've listened to the show several times, you probably just ignore it by now because I know I do that with some of the others. But, there's an interesting line right at the beginning of that which compelled me to use that song for this show. And the line is, "The future is here right before your eyes." And it's just amazing to me how many people don't actually see that. Oftentimes what we're seeking to achieve and do is literally right in front of us. And today I've got a couple topics, and it's not going to be a long show, and I appreciate you tuning in and hearing my words. And oftentimes I wonder, why would anybody want to hear what I have to say? But a few of you do, so I want to thank you for that first and foremost. I was talking to my tax accountant the other day, maybe a week ago, and I hadn't heard from him in a couple of weeks, and we interact regularly because he does all my accounting for my business. And by the way, this is not going to be a dig on him, but I'm going to use him as an example, so I apologize for that, my friend. But, he says, "Jim, it's tax season. I'm slammed." So let me get this straight. It's tax season. You're slammed. Tax season comes around every single year, and yet you're slammed. And by the way, I've heard this from my tax man, everyone that I've ever had my entire life. I also hear it from other colleagues of mine that do taxes and accounting my entire life. And it just fascinates me that you have almost a whole year to prepare for this time of year, and yet you're slammed, and then all of a sudden that becomes a convenient excuse to allow other things to fall off or not to give the level of customer service that one might expect to have on a regular basis, no matter what time of year it is. Because although it might be your tax season, I'm still in selling season and getting shit done season. And the last thing I want to hear is that my business is going to be delayed because you're in tax season, something that you can prepare for every single year. And, it's not just taxmen and our ladies, in that industry. It's across the board. And I think as humans, we always find that convenient excuse to tell others about so that we can delay or maybe not give that best level of service or not be 100% available to them. I noticed it back in my sales years, which we still are in sales with our wine business. If you don't know, we import beer and wine from Mexico, Baja, Mexico, and we donate a portion of that back to the orphanages down there. So we're still involved in the alcohol industry, dealing with salespeople with our distributor reps across the country. And what's also fascinating to me in that business is that there's a cycle of sales each month. The beginning of the month, salespeople are kind of dancing around, taking some meetings, this and that. But the last week of the month, most distribution organizations have their sales team, and they have what they call quota. And that's a number in which they must hit for their brand items, their core items, the ones that keep the lights on. Every month they have to hit a quota of sales. And these salespeople don't want to be bothered the last week of the month because they have quota. And literally it's like, we don't do any ride with, we don't go out in the field with you, we have to focus on hitting these numbers, we've got a quota hit. Well, last I checked, the month is 28 to 31 days long. You have the entire month to hit that quota. Why are you waiting till the last week of the month to hit your quota? And all the years that I owned my tequila company and a sales team over there, I always push them like, "Hey guys, let's hit our number at the beginning of the month. Let's push now. Let's get it in before the 15th." And we were pushing back against a machine where all the salespeople in the industry were focused on the last week of the month, which then in turn trained the buyers to focus on the last week of the month because the buyers knew, hey, if these guys are on the ropes, I'm going to get a deal. I'm going to push them for that discount. Yeah, they'll hit their number, their quota, and I'm going to get a deal on the product. It's just a vicious machine, and I don't understand why as humans we do that to ourselves. We put ourselves in a corner. We use these excuses not to do other things different times of the month or the year, and we can be better than that. We can definitely be better than that. And it's funny, when I think about the competition, I listen to a lot of Ed Milet. He's one of the leaders in the Arte Syndicate that I'm involved with. And Ed talks about peak season and non-peak season. And what Ed likes to do is ramp up in the non-peak season. So a good example of that might be Christmas holiday. A lot of people, they slow down at the end of the year. Christmas is coming. They want to focus on, family and friends, which is wonderful. And I completely believe that you should do that. But Ed leverages that time to also ramp up his business efforts. So maybe he gets up a little bit earlier and he spends 3 hours knocking out customer calls and making the sale before the family arrives, to eat, quiche and breakfast and all these things that you do during the holiday season and gather. So he doesn't neglect the family, but yet he's using that time to ramp up and get ahead of everybody else. And I love off-peak season. I love thinking about when other people are doing the norm and not conducting business. I like to take advantage of that time. That's when I want to sell more, do more, and ramp up. And by the way, we've got a big glaring excuse, way bigger than the tax guy or the sales guy right now, of reasons for not doing something, and that is COVID. I heard somebody say the other day, I'm so tired of hearing COVID is the reason. Now, if you've listened to this show at least the last 12 months, I've said it a dozen times. I've had one of the best career years of my life in 2020, which, of course, we all went through COVID and the shutdowns and everything to do with that, not to mention the political environment we've been in. I did not allow COVID to be an excuse for me not to succeed in my business. And by the way, it's a fairly new business if you think about it, because I moved to Montana almost 2 years ago and wanted to work from home because my value, my number 2 value was my family, number 1 being, of course, God. But my number 2 value is family, and working from home to me was important. So I've got this fairly new business. I had one of the best career years of my life last year, and I'm off and running for 2021 because I didn't allow anything to be that excuse. So if you're a salesperson or a taxman or any other industry where you've got a convenient excuse of something that happens every year, don't do it anymore. Don't use it as an excuse. It just reminds me, the 12 years that I raced off-road for a lot of these big companies, their excuse was the SEMA show. And if you're in the car industry, you know the SEMA show. It's the biggest car event, automotive event of the year in the world in Las Vegas. And man, these people would use that, say, I can't, it's SEMA this week. Well, I've been to SEMA a lot, and I know you guys do a lot of sitting around in those booths, BSing, going and looking at cool stuff when you could actually be servicing your customers, making a difference, and improving your position in life. So please don't use these convenient excuses to do things or avoid doing things, which goes along with what my next topic is. And I said I only had 2 topics today. And that is just another reminder to focus on what your values are as you look at making career and life decisions. I've talked about this dozens of times. I've given you my own values dozens of times. It is in this order: God, family, health, giving back, time with my family, and then finally business. Imagine that I've got all those values, and the last one is business. And I just suggested I had the best 2020 of my best career year of my life. And that was the last thing on my values is business. It works. Let me tell you, if you're focused on your values and what's important to you, your business will flourish because you will be a better person for it. People will want to work with you, be around with you, and all the things that go along with that. So focus on your values. I'm not going to name the relative, but I'm recording this just for him to listen to. I told him I'd call him this weekend, which I'll still do, but I want him to hear this. And as I started to think about it, it's probably important for a lot of people to hear this right now. This individual has done several things for a career. He kind of bounces around here and there. He goes from one job to the next, then maybe back to that job, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, out of left field, he says, hey, I'm thinking about doing real estate. I'm in real estate school. Well, if I remember correctly, 6 months ago, you were going to be a brewmaster and go in the beer business. Not to mention your career is completely the opposite of that. And what I have to say to that is I appreciate somebody that wants to reach out and try to do something different for themselves and maybe better their financial position. But in my mind, the opposites and the directional changes don't make a lot of sense from the outside looking in. And I have to wonder, is he aligning his decisions with his values and what those values are? And if those values are really important, you would be able to identify what the right path is for you and stay on that path and not bounce from one thing to the next. or there would be some commonality in that path, meaning what I'm doing today serves my values. My thought of going into real estate will enhance what I'm doing and serves my values even more, right? And keep taking that ladder. So what I want to encourage him to do is focus on his values first, make his career decisions based on that, and really do the research and the homework and commit to that so that you see the results. Things take time. Most people don't understand what the word patience means anymore. We are in such a world of instant gratification. We want it right now. Hey, I'm one of those people. I was thinking about what I'm going to wear to this father-daughter dance tomorrow night, and there's a pair of jeans that I really like. I thought, can they Amazon those to me right now? Of course not. It's across the country. But I want it right now. And we're in such a world of now when it comes to careers and building your life and thinking about your family and their future. There's times where we have to be patient and put together a well thought out plan with all things considered, including those values. So I want to encourage him to look at his values first and then make the decisions about what he's going to do and not bounce around from one thing to the other and realize what that must look like from the outside. Here I go again. So focus on that. Matter of fact, I'll use another clean example. I did 75 Hard, which is a Andy Frisella program last year. My wife and I did it at the same time. We had a lot of success through it. We've done some really hard shit in our lives with competitive racing through Spartan, and we completed that. I had the notion that I was going to start up 75 Hard again this year, and I just thought, I want to get back into, and I wasn't out of shape, but I just wanted to get back into the routine because there was a lot of factors that I enjoyed about it. And I jumped on it about 15 days ago, and I went, 10 days, and I forgot to take the photo, and I had to start over again. So then I started over again. That's where I'm at now. And I realized last night, I had my own little epiphany, that it wasn't serving my values or my real clear goals for the year as it relates to how I'm spending my time. And I told Samantha, I was like, I'm not going to do this program anymore. She's like, why? Are you tired? Let's go to the gym right now. This is 10 o'clock at night. Let's go downstairs to the gym right now and get your second workout. And I said, no. I realized that I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. 75 Hard is a mental toughness program and physical second. And it requires a lot of commitment and time to get you to that place where you need to be. Now, for me, I have had mental toughness, most of my life. It's allowed me to succeed in Spartan racing and off-road racing and a lot of my career choices. And it wasn't going to enhance that. But what it was going to do is take away from my physical rest and my ability to be here for my family. So, I am stopping the program. I don't look at it as quitting. I look at it as identifying, again, what my values are and what's important to me and making a shift. And I want to say that it's okay to make shifts in your life for the right reasons if it's founded on good principles and your values. So, it's how people perceive things, and oftentimes we have to recheck ourselves, which I did on the program, and that's why I'm bringing it up on the show today, that we all divert, but let's have a reason for our diversions and why, and then stick with it and do what's best for our family and our situation. So with that, I want to wish you the best in everything that you're doing. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to connect to me through my website, Live Life Driven. My email's on there. My phone number's on there, I believe. Our social media, which I'm trying to get off more of. Less time on social media, more time doing things like this and spending time with my family and friends. But I'm here for you. I love to hear from all of you in between the shows. I've gotten some great feedback, and oftentimes people come out of nowhere that I least expected it, and I've rekindled some old friendships, made some new ones, and it's one of the things that I love the most about this show. So please enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to delivering more great podcasts to you.
It's up to you. The door is open.